Well, as you know, WrestleMania week is now entering for night one of WrestleMania. This is going to be very interesting. As you know, certain title matches are on the line, special matches are also going to be in place. But first things first, we're going to be reviewing, of course, Tokyo Joshi Pro Wrestling live in LA at the Globe Theater. We have only two title matches taking place, the International Princess title and the Princess Tag Team titles being defended. And also, we got a couple of what's going on in the NWA USA. Very interesting matches that really took place. And then also, we move on to NXT Stand and Deliver. We have almost all the belts being placed on the line. I'm so excited to review this one. And of course, WrestleMania 39, Night 1. We're so excited for this one. And of course, we got some news updates regarding more about what's been going on with Gisele Shaw after the bullying she suffered this past Friday at WrestleCon. But also, a very interesting development in Stardom. As you know, KAIRI has mentioned a friend that she's bringing along, and she was unveiled. But however, I guess certain people can say we finally agreed it was the right person. So let's get ready for another episode of Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Welcome everybody to Deleted Wrestle Zone, all things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, Impact Wrestling, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, Gerard here. So let's begin with Tokyo Joshi Pro Wrestling with live in LA at the Globe Theater. As you know, this is very interesting. A majority of the Tokyo Joshi wrestlers um, made their way. The opening, I have to say, Sayuri Namba did pretty good at opening the show in English. I'm not saying it's perfect, but it's perfect enough for us understanding. She gave the details of the matches and all this and that. However, that doesn't end there. Of course, we all expected what we normally see when we watch Tokyo Joshi Pro Wrestling uh, on the Wrestle Universe. The Up Girls making their um, debut in LA. I thought it was pretty nice that they did that. Um, I forgot the name of the song, but it's strange that they did not have Shino Suzuki. As I'm pretty sure the reason they didn't want to bring her along because she's still new to this, and I'm sure many fans may not know who she is. But I'm okay with the idea they only brought in the only three members of Up Girls there. I mean, we're talking about Miyu Watanabe, Hikari Noah, and Raku. Now, our opening match, we have Daisy Monkey, consistent of Zuzumi, and Arisu Endo taking on Free Wi Fi, um, Hikari Noah, and Nao Kakuta. I have to say, this was a pretty good match. I like how the commentary said that he talked to Hikari Noah. They said, "Why'd you guys call yourself Free Wi Fi?" And she goes, "Who doesn't love free Wi Fi?" I guess that's a good point. But the match was pretty good. There were free Wi-Fi were playing a little dirty tactics. Grabbing by the hair. I heard that the ref that Hikari Noah had a hard time understanding what the ref was saying to her. Just for the record, she does not have very understandably under English. You know what I mean? But the match was pretty good. I have to say it was really awesome. But however, it was free Wi-Fi with the 5G onto what was it on Arisu Endo, and it was uh, Hikari Noa who picked up the pinfall. 1, 2, 3, it was done right there. Next up, we got Janai Kai taking on Yuki Kamifuku. I have to say, this was a very interesting matchup because you probably would have thought that Yuki Kamifuku, since she is like the bigger star of the show, knowing that she is this tall, hot, looking girl who probably would pick up the win. But however, it was Janai Kai with the demonish that put her away, and a lot of fans were like booing for that. I don't blame them, but that's how they roll. They rather see the stars of Tokyo Joshi Pro Wrestling than walk away as the heroes. Next up, we got um, Raku teaming with Yuki Inoue, taking on Trish Adora, and of course the resident superhero of Tokyo Joshi Pro Wrestling, Hyper Misao. Now, I know some people are a little skeptical about it. Okay, if Hyper Misao is a superhero, why is she using dirty tactics? I mean, for her, it's her way of like, she's a superhero. She must do what she can in order to win. And I think that tells it all. But there was a moment where Trish, with Hyper Misao, accidentally sprayed cold spray right in the eyes of Trish Adora. And of course, Raku put her and Trish Adora to sleep. But in this case, it was, of course, a high flying dive by Hyper Misao onto who was on Raku. And one, two, three, it was over right from there. Next up, we got Miyu Watanabe and Shoko Nakajima taking on the Wasteland War Party, consisting of Heidi Howitzer and Max the Impaler. Now, I know what some of you guys are thinking. This is going to be a fun match because we've always been impressed by Miyu Watanabe's strength that she has displayed time and time again, and not to mention when she does the giant swing, as we always seen every single time. But we didn't see that with Max, but she was able to do it with Heidi. But unfortunately, this match ended with, of course, the Master Blaster onto Nakashima, giving the Wasteland War Party the win. Now, our next match is a title match. We have the International Princess title. We have the challenger Billy Starks taking on Rika Tatsumi. I thought this match was pretty good. Like Rika Tatsumi, who's been very impressive ever since then. As you know, she is the first ever Triple Crown winner in Tokyo Joshi Pro Wrestling, but she was able to walk away with the win when she applied the high flying hip attack onto Billy Starks. One, two, three, it's done. Our next match is, of course, our main event. It's for the Princess Tag Team titles. We have the Magical Sugar Rabbits, Yuka Sakazaki, and our current Princess of Princess champion, Mizuki. They take on the current champions, Maki Ito and Miyu Yamashita. I thought this match was pretty good, but to me, I felt like, why did the way it ended? I mean, it was, of course, the double stomp on Maki Ito by Mizuki that picked up the win. Now, don't get me wrong, it's great to see Mizuki becoming two belts champion, but Maki Ito and Miyu Yamashita only had these belts for almost 2 weeks. I thought this was really messed up, but I'm not gonna argue about it. But whatever reason, as you know, possibly, as you know, I don't think Miyu Yamashita is going to be able to defend them due to the fact that maybe because she's already been booked tight for many promotions. Because after today, this particular event, she's going to be sticking around in the U.S. for 3 months. So it would make absolute sense for that. But we'll see what happens then. So, I think that's pretty much it right now with Tokyo Joshi Pro Wrestling. Let's move on with NWA. Okay, NWA USA open up with a 6-woman tag team match. We have Ruthie J, who we have seen before. She teams up with none other than the Renegade Twins, Robin and Charlotte. They take on La Rosa Negra and our current NWA Women's Tag Team Champions, Misa Kate and Maddie. Now, I thought this match was pretty okay, for an opener. You probably would have thought in your minds that, okay, the Renegade Twins probably are a little frustrating knowing that right across from them are the people that have their tactiles. But I did like how they were trying to separate La Rosa Negra away from her tag partners, but apparently that did not work. It was Misa Kate who picked up a win when she applied a submission on Ruth J, and that was it. But as soon as it was over, Misa and Maddie, they just bounced just like that. Like they don't want nothing to do with La Rosa Negra, which is kind of messed up. Now, we do get an interview with May Valentine. As you know, Jamie Stanley is making a statement saying that He believes that Joe Alonso will be the one to dethrone Kerry Morton and obtain the junior heavyweight title. So we'll just see what happens then when we get there, when we cross that bridge. Now, our next match, we have this brand new girl who just made her appearance, Brava Escobar, taking on Natalia Markova. I have to say, Escobar, she was putting Natalia Markova into the test. You probably would have thought that Natalia Markova would have beaten her, but no, it wasn't an easy thing for her. But she was able to use that heel kick that normally she uses on her opponents. 1, 2, 3, it was over. Now we go back with May Valentine doing an interview. We don't know what's going on with Sal. I mean, last time he went AWOL, he left Judaias and Gags to get dry. It's still unclear what is going on, but hopefully some things can come out of it. I hate to see that maybe Sal Lapel has to answer to Father for what he's done. And then we go back to May Valentine again. This time they're talking with Chris Silver and Bulletproof Troop, who are the current number one contenders for the NWA US tag team titles, and they try to make a clear statement to the country gentlemen. However, the country are not going to back down from any threat or anybody from what they said. So we'll see about that. Our next match we have is the Fixers, Breaking Ball Legursky and Jay Bradley, taking on Porter and VHS. You probably can guess this match ended with, of course, the Fixers winning the match. But however, as soon as the match was over, Billy Corgan, or should I say, William Patrick Corgan, showed up and took possessions of the old United States Tag Team titles that should have been retired, but the Fixers were not going to let that happen. But they were so close in putting their hands on William Patrick Corgan, but they knew they were going to get fined if something happens to him. So the boss actually took possession back in those belts and possibly going to put them in a museum. But we'll see what happens on Tuesday or next week on NWA USA. I think that's pretty much it. So let's move on with NXT Stand and Deliver. Okay, NXT Stand and Deliver opened up with the women's title in a ladder match between Zoe Starks, Indy Hartwell, Gigi Dolan, Tiffany Stratton, Lyra Valkyria, and of course Roxanne Perez. You probably can guess this match was chaotic. Uh, who was normally going to be the one to take on now? I think many of us would have thought maybe Roxanne would have pulled off another miracle to retain the title. I think that was something that we all expected, but we expect the unexpected. Now, when we thought Gigi Dolan seems like the one who was going to get the belt, we saw Jay-Z Jane, who in fact pushed her down and costing her an opportunity to become the NXT Women's Champion. This war between them is far from over. But there was a moment when you thought it looked kind of crazy where Tiffany Stratton might have missed and hit her back real hard on the outside. I don't know if she's okay, but right in the end, when you look at a moment, Indy Hartwell was all alone. She had the advantage to get on top of the ladder, but however, she was unable to. Unexpectedly, we saw, that's right, Dexter Loomis. He decided to give her a helping hand to reach for the title and finally obtaining a title that she always dreamed for. And I think that tells us a pretty good story on that one. So I thought it was say so it basically index we're back. So great moment. Now our next match is the NXT Tag Team titles. We have the Creed brothers, Julius and Brutus, versus the D'Angelo family, uh, Channing Stacks Lorenzo and Tony D'Angelo, versus the champions, the Gallus boys, Wolfgang and Mark Coffey. I thought this match was pretty brutal. You probably would have thought there was an advantage that, in a way, we could expect either the Creed brothers to win the titles or the underdogs of the story, the D'Angelo family. I could have gone either way, but one thing I did not expect was the return of Joe Coffey. We haven't seen him since the Gallus boys were suspended after their recent run in the past. And it was interesting to see they got involved. but it gave time for Gallows to pick up the win and retain the titles. And now, as the old saying goes with the Gallows Boys are back on top. So it looks like that's the case. And now I wouldn't be surprised now that they got the tag titles. I wouldn't be surprised if Joe Coffey makes a play for the NXT championship. Next up, we got the NXT North American title. Oh man, this match was chaotic. We have Ilya Dragunov, Axiom, JD McDonough, um, Dragon Lee, and Wesley. Now, this match, you probably would have thought who was going to walk away. Now, I would have. To me, I looked at everybody who it is. Like you, I think we're seeing the feud between JD McDonough and Ilya Dragunov still races on. You got Axiom, who is the rising star, who most likely could figure out a way to pick up the win. And then there's the mysterious Dragon Lee, who many people may or may not seen his work. He's the underdog in this whole thing, and I know the wild card of this match versus, of course, Wesley, who has proven time and time again why he's the North American top. But this was so chaotic. I like certain spots, super kicks, all of it. But however, it was Wesley with the cardiac kick onto um who was it on? I forgot who they got the cardiac kick, and it helped them to retain the title. Now our next match is an unsanctioned lights out match between uh, Grayson Waller and Johnny Gargano. Now keep in mind this thing went back 16 months ago. As you remember, Gargano was saying goodbye to the NXT world, but his moment was ruined by Grayson Waller, who felt that this is a load of crap. All the moment should be on him instead. But Gargano decided to come back and get retribution for what transpired, and of course, it was so intense, brutalized, using all sorts of weapons and all that. Even Candice LeRae got involved, and you probably wouldn't imagine it. It kind of did, but I have to say there was like moments where you saw the Gargano decide to make Grayson Waller pay for what happened 60 months ago, which he did, and then he put him on the Gargano escape, forcing him to tap out. I thought it was a great moment, so it was pretty great from there. But however, in the post match, Index show up to congratulate Johnny on a well done, and of course they were happy for Indy for picking up her first championship win in NXT. So we're gonna see what else is gonna take place. Now, our next match, we have the NXT Women's Tag Team titles. This one, to me, wasn't much of a buzz, but I'll skip ahead anyway. We do feature Alba Fire and Isla Dawn as the challengers versus Kiana James and Finley Henley. Like I said, it wasn't too much of a buzz on this one for me. I felt they could have have this as an open or something, or somewhere down the middle, but nah. It was, of course, Alba Fire and what's her name? Isla Dawn, who picked up the win, becoming our brand new NXT Women's Tag Team Champions. Our main event features the NXT Championship between Carmelo Hayes and Braun Breaker. I thought this match was so brutal in every aspect. I thought it was so intense. There was I think the moment I did like is, of course, when the referee was knocked out. Of course, Trick Williams got involved, but Braun Breaker goes out of his way when he kicked out, saying that I knew this was going to happen. Like he kind of predicted that Trick Williams was going to play his usual tricks. As always, it did not work. So um, Carmelo Hayes had to do his way regardless. Even if Trick Williams' tricks are not effective, he had to go it alone. So he applied the nothing but net, and it was over right from there. And he became our brand new NXT champion. So we'll see what else is happening. But the real question is who will be the next to, how do I say, to challenge him. I say there's a lot of potential challengers for him to face. So I think that's it for this one. So let's move on to our final review, Wrestlemania. Okay, our final review, WrestleMania Night 1. Uh, I didn't think I was going to do this, but what the hell? Let's do it. It opened up with with the WWE United States Championship on the line. You have Austin Theory defending it against his idol John Cena. So basically, it's more like, okay, how much can Austin Theory have studied to learn the moves from John Cena? You probably would have thought in every way possible that he would figure it out to put him away, but no. There were some moments where, of course, they kind of went in the direction where the ref was knocked out, and of course, but when Cena realized that the ref was out when he applied the STF, it was no good. But of course, Austin Theory took the advantage and low blow Cena, and then he did an 8 pound, uh, the pound down or whatever he calls that move, and it kind of allowed him to retain the title when he pinned him. So that may be now in his wheelhouse, saying, yes, I beat John Cena. So I think that's going to tell us a story. He's going to tell this for the rest of his life. Next up, we have Braun Strowman and Ricochet taking on the Viking Raiders, Ivar and Eric, versus the Alpha Academy, Otis and Chad Cable, versus the Street Profits. I thought this match was also pretty good. Like, some great moments you probably would have enjoyed, and I thought that was going to be like something you would have expect. Normally, I would expect a lot of spots coming from one person, and that is Ricochet. As always, I just love his work. But when you thought he had everything under control, he applied a shooting star press on what's his name, on Angelo Dawkins. It backfired on him, but later he got uh, Dawkins left up his knees, and then of course he hold them down until what's his name, Monte Ford's actually applied his part, and then boom, 1, 2, 3, Angelo Dawkins picked up the win. Next up, we got Logan Paul versus Seth Rollins. I thought this match was pretty good because you probably would have thought that there was no way Logan Paul would hang with guys like Seth Rollins, but this guy put Seth Rollins to the limits in every aspect. You probably would have thought that he was going to look for a surreal, how do I say, a a moment for his little thingy on his phone. However, when you thought things were going to go exactly as Seth Rollins' way, it did not. Apparently, this little soft drink mascot shows up. Turns out to be a buddy of, what's his name? Uh, uh, Logan Paul, KSI, who just decided to help out. But there was a moment that we saw that Logan Paul was about to jump off to make a viral moment, but it backfired. Logan Paul actually pancaked KSI, but it took only a stomp to put away um, Logan Paul for Seth Rollins to walk away with the win. Next up, we have Damage Control. Dakota Kai, Io Sky, and Bailey taking on Lita, Trish Stratus, and Becky Lynch. I have to say, like, Damage Control are well organized, but the obvious thing it does, you look at Lynch, Lita, and Trish, they're like the unknown team because they haven't teamed up that much. But it did play out pretty well. Some interesting moments when you thought things were not going to go exactly either way. They tried to regroup, and I thought it was a pretty good. But it was, of course, the manhandled by Becky Lynch onto who was it? Onto Bailey that allowed her and her team to pick up the win. Next up, we got the father and son match: Dominic Mysterio versus his own father, Rey Mysterio. This was, I have to say, Dominic shows up being as like he thinks he's a convict and all this other stuff. I thought it was really interesting that he did that, but one thing that led to another. We did see Ray come out with Snoop Dogg in a lowrider, and then of course we heard the infamous theme song from the late Eddie Guerrero. I lie, I steal, I lie, I cheat, I steal. So I missed that, but it was a pretty good moment. However, I think this is one of those matches where it's like, oh man, how is this is going to end? Because we know Dominic is trying to prove a point that his father has failed him, but of course, Ray's going to teach him a lesson to show respect to his elders. But of course, his Ray's wife and his daughter were there, and you know that Dominic would do anything to get it in their faces. But as always, we did expect Judgment Day to try to make sure that this match goes in favor of Dominic. But when we thought they were going to get in the way, that's when um, the Gato shows up, or should I say, members of the Latino World Order show up to give Rey Mysterio a helping hand. But when Dominic thought he had everything, he put exactly what he did. He did the 619 and the frog splash. We all thought it was over. It did not. Ray did not have any. Dominic had no clue what to do, so he decided to resort to other means to ensure. So he distracted the ref by trying to remove the corner safety. He used the chain that was left behind by, of course, Damien, but Bad Bunny decided to help Ray and removed it. But it did allow for Ray to apply a double kick and then, of course, position Dominic for the 619, and then boom, the frog splash, and it was over right from there. So the real question is, what is Dom gonna do? Well, we don't know. We'll see what happens then. Now our next match is the WWE SmackDown Women's Championship. This rivalry dates back a few years back. If you remember clearly, it was Charlotte Flair who dethroned Rhea Ripley during the WrestleMania week a couple years ago, and now it seems like Rhea Ripley wants to right a wrong. And you saw the intensity of this match, how Charlotte is trying to prove once and for all why she is who she is, and of course Rhea Ripley is trying to prove her dominance, and of course that's exactly what took place. But it took a rib tie off the second ropes for Rhea Ripley to put away Charlotte Flair and become our brand new SmackDown Women's Champion. So finally, she got her little payback on Charlotte Flair. So we'll see who'll be her next challenger. Uh, Later, we have a little interesting match that kind of was unofficial, but later was set up by Snoop Dogg, The Miz versus Pat McAfee. Uh, Pat McAfee got help from George Kittle. I thought it was pretty awesome, but it was Pat McAfee that walked out as the winner. Now our next match is the WWE Undisputed Tag Team titles between Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens taking on the Usos. Man, that match was insane. A bunch of super kicks. I don't know if this is their way to try to put the Young Bucks into shame with multiple super kicks. I don't know what you call it. But the Usos were getting frustrated when you thought that they had this in their bag. It's more like Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens refuses to stay down. But however, it was of course Sami Zayn with the haluva kick onto Jay, and boom, knocked him out 3 times. And then when he got the final kick, 1, 2, 3, our brand new undisputed tag team champions. I thought it was a great moment. I don't know if people expected that, but the real question is, now that this happened, now that the Bloodline has lost these titles, what does this mean for night 2? Will Cody do the unthinkable? Will he be able to dethrone the head of the table, Roman Reigns? We'll find out on night 2, so we'll see what happens then. But right now, let's move on to our final thing, news updates. Okay, so our news updates here is a bit shorter, only 2 things I'm going to be talking about. As you know, this past Friday, Gisele Shaw suffered a being bullied due to the fact of her background as a transgender. We found out that the person who spoke out nasty comments towards her was none other than Rick Steiner. Now, I'm here to follow up on that. I have to say, I am amazed how the wrestling community, especially certain people who are now in support of Gisele Shaw after what we did. Um, of course, everybody is saying on Twitter, fuck Rick Steiner. I don't know how this would affect Braun Breaker due to being his dad, but Rick Steiner had this coming. The thing is, Rick Steiner feels like things are changing. Now, we have seen many wrestlers who feel, many people like the old timers who feel that things cannot change. Like they're they're kind of a bit they cannot accept changes in the wrestling world. I mean, do I care about Gisele Shaw being a transgender? Hell no. I'm not I'm not like, bothered by it. So what? At least she can wrestle. That's all that matters. And I saw many people are on support, like especially mostly with the Impact Wrestling talent. Other people who even Will Ospreay even commented on it, saying that he has her back, and I thought it was amazing that others are doing too. However, WrestleCon did issue an apology towards this, knowing that this was unacceptable. But however, they will see if they can learn something from this to make it better, not to let this happen ever again. So I thought it was very important, but as I say, they're willing to try to fix this again. Now, our final update. As you know, we talked about KAIRI, our resident pirate princess. Talked about recently about bringing a friend for an event on April 23rd at the All Star Dreams Queensdom. We didn't know what friend she was talking about. We do know that people thought in their righteous minds that it was going to be Saray, because we all know that Saray and Natsupoi are very good friends. However, we didn't expect that. However, the when Saray came out, this is I'm spoiling this for everybody because I haven't seen the latest two shows from Stardom. But however, um, seeing what happened, this as soon as Prominence retained their titles, KAIRI comes out, issued a challenge, and she picked her team. One of them is Natsupoi, which was very unusual. But however, the mysterious friend was of course none other than Sayori Onoi. I kind of knew it was her in some capacity, but I did not expect that she was going to participate in this. Now, I mentioned this before. Yes, Sayuri Noi has participated in Stardom before. I don't know how long she ever thought that she was going to wrestle back in the Stardom ring. So basically, uh, KAIRI, Natsupoi, and Sayuri Noi are in fact tag partners, and I think this is kind of interesting. Even Natsupoi consulted with Tam, asking her about this match, with her participating with KAIRI and Sorino. Tam said that she will always have her back, no matter what, and she feels like if they win these titles, at least that's something in Kozen that in Cosmic Angels probably will be proud of. So we'll see what takes place after that. So I think that's pretty much it with everything else. Let's just call it a day. Well, I hope everybody enjoys this episode. Coming up, we will continue with more WrestleMania on night two, but also we got Choco Pro, and of course, we got the Road to Sakura Genesis. Now, I haven't decided if I want to review another show, but we'll see what happens then. Uh, but for now, we'll just leave it as that. So I'll tell you guys, I'll see you guys on next DWZ time, same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So, goodbye. And have a nice day.